The knock was quiet. So quiet that at first I thought I imagined it. I was standing in my kitchen, barefoot on the cold tile, half awake, staring at a mug of coffee I hadn't even lifted yet. The coffee machine had already shut itself off, the room filled with that faint burnt smell it always left behind. Morning light spilled in through the blinds in thin, uneven stripes, cutting the kitchen into pieces. I remember thinking about absolutely nothing, just standing there. Then I heard it again. 3 soft knocks. Not rushed, not urgent, almost unsure. The kind of knock that doesn't want to disturb. The kind that asks permission instead of demanding attention. I stood still, listening, heart beating just a little faster than it should have. For a moment I wondered if it was a delivery, or someone knocking on the wrong door. Then it came again, the same 3 quiet knocks. Something about it made my stomach tighten. When I opened the door, my neighbor was standing there. Her eyes were swollen, red in that way that tells you someone has been crying for a long time. Crying without relief. Her hair was untouched, not messy exactly, just forgotten. Like grooming had suddenly become irrelevant, like mirrors no longer mattered. She stood there, holding her arms close to her body, as if she were cold, even though the morning air was mild. And before she said a single word, I already knew. Her husband had died last night. And somehow, out of all the doors on this street, she chose mine. Here's the thing that still gets me, even now. Before that morning, she was just my neighbor. The kind you nod at when you're taking out the trash. The kind you wave to across the driveway. The kind you exchange polite smiles with when the mailboxes line up just right. The kind of person you think you know because you recognize their face, but don't really know at all. We lived side by side for years. Years. Long enough to recognize each other's cars by sound, long enough to notice when the porch light was left on overnight. Long enough to track each other's routines without ever naming them. We shared the same street, the same seasons, the same quiet mornings where nothing seemed to happen. But never real conversations, never birthdays, never stories, never anything deeper than morning or looks like rain. And that's what makes what happened next so hard to explain. Because grief doesn't always go where it's supposed to go. It doesn't follow family trees or phone contacts. It doesn't knock on the doors that make the most sense on paper. Sometimes it knocks on the nearest door that feels safe. I found out about her husband the same way everyone else did. A siren. It cut through the night like a blade, sharp and sudden, pulling me out of sleep. I remember rolling over in bed, annoyed, checking the time on my phone. Just after midnight. Sirens usually mean nothing to us until they mean something. I looked out the window and saw the flashing lights outside her house. Red, blue, red again. The colors reflected off parked cars, off windows, off the quiet street that usually went dark by 10. An ambulance parked just outside their driveway. At first there was movement. Too much movement. Too many people. Then less, and then nothing. No rush, no shouting, no urgency. Just stillness. That kind of stillness that tells you everything already happened somewhere else. By morning the street was quiet again. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels wrong. No car in the driveway, no movement behind the curtains, no sound of footsteps or doors or life. Just a house that suddenly felt hollow. Like something had been removed, not physically, but permanently. I remember standing at my window, coffee cooling untouched, thinking someone should check on her. I didn't realize that someone would be me. When I opened the door, she didn't cry. That surprised me more than anything else. She didn't fall apart, didn't sob, didn't even wipe her eyes. She just stood there, holding her hands together so tightly her knuckles were white, fingers locked together like if she let go, something inside her might unravel. "I'm sorry," she said. Her voice was soft, flat, almost apologetic. I remember thinking, sorry for what? For knocking? For existing? For surviving? Then she spoke again. I didn't know where else to go. That was it. That was all. No explanation, no story, no request, just that one sentence. And suddenly, my doorway didn't feel like my doorway anymore. It felt like the edge of something fragile, something breakable, something I had accidentally been trusted with. I stepped aside without thinking. I didn't weigh options, didn't consider whether I was ready, didn't wonder if I was the right person. I just moved. She walked in slowly, cautiously, like she wasn't sure she was allowed to, like she expected to be stopped at any second. Her steps were small, deliberate, as if the floor might disappear if she wasn't careful. She didn't ask for water, didn't ask to sit, didn't ask for anything at all. So I said the first thing that came to mind. "Do you want to sit?" She nodded, just once. We sat at the table, across from each other. 2 mugs between us, untouched. The coffee had gone cold by then. I could smell it, bitter and forgotten, but neither of us reached for it. And then, nothing. No conversation. No comforting words. No, "I'm sorry for your loss." Just silence. But it wasn't awkward. It wasn't the kind of silence that makes you fidget or reach for your phone, or clear your throat just to break it. It was heavy. It sat between us, thick and dense, like air before a storm. You know how silence usually feels uncomfortable? Like you need to fill it, fix it, say something meaningful? This silence was different. It felt necessary. She stared at the table, eyes unfocused, tracing patterns in the wood grain without really seeing them. I stared at my hands. Minutes passed. Long ones. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, every second echoing in the room. I almost reached up to take it down, to stop the sound, but I didn't. Then she whispered, "The house is too loud." Her voice barely carried across the table. I didn't understand at first. Too loud? The street was quiet. The morning was still. Nothing seemed loud at all. Then she explained. Every sound reminded her of him. The fridge humming, the clock ticking, the pipes knocking behind the walls. The empty room where his breathing used to be. Silence wasn't empty for her. It was unbearable. She started talking slowly, like the words had been waiting somewhere deep, stuck behind walls she hadn't been ready to open. She told me how they met, how ordinary it was. No dramatic love story, no sparks flying across crowded rooms, just timing. A mutual friend, a conversation that lasted longer than expected, a second meeting that felt easy, first apartment. How small it was, how the heat barely worked, how they laughed about it anyway. She talked about the way he always left cabinet doors open, like he never quite finished one thought before moving on to the next. The way he hummed without realizing it. The way she used to complain about both. Her voice softened when she said, "I used to tell him it drove me crazy." Then it cracked. I'd give anything to hear that humming again. That's when the tears came. Not loud ones, not dramatic ones, quiet ones. The kind that fall when you finally feel safe enough to let go. She just let them fall, one after another, onto the table between us. I didn't interrupt, didn't offer tissues, didn't rush to comfort. I just stayed. After a while, she looked at me, really looked at me, and she said something I will never forget. I wasn't ready to be alone today. Not forever, not for the future, not for the rest of her life. Just today. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. Because we're taught to think grief is about fixing things, helping, solving. But grief doesn't want solutions, it wants company. We don't always need answers. We don't always need advice. Sometimes, all someone needs is another human in the room, breathing, listening, not leaving. She stayed for less than an hour. When she stood to leave, she looked lighter, not healed, not better, like someone who had set a heavy bag down, even if only for a moment. At the door, she paused, turned back, and said, "Thank you for opening. Not thank you for listening, not thank you for helping, thank you for opening." After she left, I stood there longer than I should have. The door still open, the quiet settling back in. The house felt different. The street felt different. Everything felt closer. I realized how many times I'd ignored knocks, literal or emotional, because I was busy, distracted, unsure, or simply tired. How many moments I'd missed because opening the door felt inconvenient. And how close grief always is, closer than we think. Here's what that morning taught me. Grief doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it comes softly, politely, and if you don't listen, you'll miss it. She didn't knock because she needed answers, because silence was too heavy to carry alone.